While over the last 150 years, the physical form of the school may have changed from this to this, the content of what is taught, even though it may now be packaged on computers and iPads in place of textbooks, has undergone little change. There are a large number of writers who express the view that Americans are seriously intellectually deficient. The book covers shown here are but a small sample of the many that have recently addressed that viewpoint. Here are some working definitions used to illustrate the capabilities of K-12 students, regardless of the skill or subject matter under consideration. Few would disagree that the ability to read is fundamental to the acquisition of knowledge, regardless of the nature of the content. This chart, developed by the Department of Education, illustrates how few American adults can demonstrate this essential skill. This graphic, when presented as a percentage of the population, shows that only a little over half of American adults show sufficient reading proficiency to carry out the demands of everyday life. There is no improvement when it comes to the education of K-12 students. Here is the longitudinal display of the reading ability of 8th grade students since 1992. It has remained essentially flat, with roughly one-third consistently demonstrating functional illiteracy each year testing took place. When 8th grade reading proficiency scores are compared by race and ethnicity, an even more alarming trend becomes evident. Blacks and Hispanics show far greater rates of being below basic in their reading skills than do Caucasians. While some small gains have been achieved in the last 20 years, both groups remain far behind the white students. Since the 1990s, significant improvement has occurred in average 4th grade math scores, with these students on average demonstrating skills somewhere between being proficient and advanced. By 8th grade, however, although some growth took place, the average student demonstrated math performance well below that of being proficient. Understanding of government operation has substantially improved for 4th grade students in the last generation. Yet, the flattening by 8th grade students, and more importantly the decline shown by 12th grade, demonstrates a failure to prepare young adults to take on the responsibilities of citizenship. Growth of the total U.S. population has slowed to a crawl, but the school-age cohort has greatly accelerated. This change can be understood by looking at the changing composition of the nation's minorities. The gap between the percentage contribution of whites versus minorities will be sharply reduced by the beginning of the next century. The population growth rate has diminished since 1991. However, with the exception of Asians, the birth rate of all minorities has exceeded that of Caucasians in every year in which this number has been calculated. Academic failure, coupled with poverty, results in a continuing cycle of despair represented in these statistics. As is made abundantly clear in this graphic, less than one-third of all adults over the age of 25 are equipped to take on the increasingly demanding requirements of a technology and knowledge-based workforce. Educational attainment is easily seen as being translated into yearly income. All of the preceding results in an adult population neither ready to assume the responsibilities of citizenship nor being able to meet the requirements for participating in a technological workforce. Much of what public schools teach is quickly forgotten. Students see little value or relevance in what they perceive as being trivial content. These learning expectations are illustrated in this triangle. While the verbs shown here comprise much of what is presented to students, they fail to serve as tools which can be usefully applied. As a consequence, the content associated with them is quickly forgotten. The top three elements of this triangle represent essential intellectual skills which are almost completely disregarded by public education, but which represent the essence of what is needed to be acquired by all students. The verbs shown in this chart describe these essential skills. They are the very skills employers say are lacking, leaving many of the most desirable and highly paid jobs unfilled for long periods of time. For many reasons, the profession of teaching fails to attract the best and the brightest. In a study of the intelligence of candidates for various professions, those preparing to teach in elementary school rank lowest among 30 college majors, followed only by those preparing for teaching in middle or high school. Almost half of teachers entering the profession leave within 5 years. Protected by tenure, there's a wide range of quality among those who choose to remain. Until very recently, New York City teachers who were so incompetent that they could not be trusted to work with students were sent to rubber rooms. There, they were paid full salary for years before the city could ultimately terminate them. When meaningless content is delivered to students by unmotivated or incompetent teachers, this can often be the result. Educators constantly complain of a lack of funding they claim is necessary to provide excellent education. However, when spending is compared with graduation rates, it is evident that money is not the problem. Unfortunately, schools often communicate that there are other things which have greater importance than the academics, which are supposed to be their primary mission. Other messages are also communicated, even more destructive of curiosity and inquiry. These are the messages that tell students there's only one right answer, and what they hear from teachers and parents is not to be questioned. The message they get is that only authority can be correct. For more than a few, such thinking can lead to a readiness to believe that dinosaurs and humans were contemporaneous with one another. Certainly, of all people, biology teachers would not be fooled into this kind of thinking. You wouldn't think so until you read this story that appeared in the New York Times during 2011. Whatever else they once were, schools used to be a safe haven for all. Now, whether it is bullying or the fear of something more, the school will never again be viewed as the safe place it once was. Instead, as we saw at Columbine, school has, for many, become a terribly frightening place. In this, the first part of a series of 3 videos, I present my view, concluding that public education is failing the students who are its responsibility. I suggest some of the factors which may explain this failure. In part 2, I identify some of the many changes in curriculum which could start to bring about reform. Finally, in part 3, 5 exercises are presented as tools having potential to implement some of these changes.